till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Co.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
It is 11 o'clock and it's time for Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers in the company of two top comedians, the brilliant Sajila Kershi and the marvellous Nick Dixon. It's going to be a busy hour, and I do hope my legs aren't a distraction. Here's the headlines with Ray.
Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. In breaking news, protesters have taken to the streets of Paris and Lyon as President Macron won re-election over far-right rival Marine Le Pen. Police fired tear gas as mostly young demonstrators gathered on the Place de la République square in Paris. Meanwhile, fireworks were launched at a police car in Lyon. Macron defeated Le Pen in a runoff vote, winning a second 5-year term and preventing a major political upset. Despite the win, the number of voters who chose not to go to the ballot box is expected to be the highest since 1969. Boris Johnson has described Russia's aggression towards Ukraine as nauseating during a call with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. The comment was made just a day before Mr. Guterres travels to Moscow for talks with President Putin. President Zelensky has been critical of the United Nations chief for choosing to visit Russia before he travels to Kyiv. Earlier, Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister blamed Russian forces for not establishing humanitarian corridors out of Mariupol today, urging the United Nations to step in. A man has been arrested in Burnley as police continue to search for a missing woman. 33-year-old Katie Kenyon has not been seen by her family since last Friday morning. Lancashire police say a 50-year-old man is currently helping police with their inquiries. They're also appealing for anyone with information or dash cam footage from the Bolton by Bowland area to come forward. Men aged 60 plus are being urged to take free bowel cancer tests by Health Secretary Sajid Javid. The NHS says just 1 in 20 men go to the doctor if they have symptoms. Men are also less likely to take up preventative screening than women do. More than 16,000 people die from the disease every year. And the government is launching a review into women's football with the aim of bringing it more in line with the men's game. Following a fan-led review published last year, the study will focus on commercialisation of the sport, spectator support and media interest. It comes ahead of a summer of high-profile women's football, with England set to host the Women's Euro 2022 finals. TV, online and DAB Plus radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to those headliners.
I hope no one was offended by the sight of my legs, but let's be honest, it will boost ratings. Hello and welcome to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers. I'm Mark Dolan, or at least I used to be, and joining me is the matriarch of Headliners herself, Sajila Kershi, and the founder of patriarchy itself, the deliciously misogynistic Nick Dixon. Great to have both of you with us. Sajila, we haven't seen you on the box for a little while because you've been treading the boards.
I have been treading the boards. I've been doing a Sue Townsend play called Bizarre and Rummage, and it's at the Wanstead Theatre. I've just done a run. I did 2 shows yesterday, so I'm really knackered. And it's called Bizarre and Rummage, but it's like almost like a post-pandemic parallel of people who've got a little bit of agoraphobia. And I play a character called Bell Bell, who originally was Scottish, but I've got a little South Asian slant on it. And it's on next Thursday to Saturday. You can catch it at the Wanstead Theatre.
Well, I think it's a fascinating play because I've been reading about it. And also, Sue Townsend is a genius because she came up with Adrian Mole.
Adrian Mole.
So you've got pathos, humour,
yes,
humanity, the whole thing, right?
It's really funny. It's very, very, very
funny. So Wanstead Theatre.
Yep.
And it's called?
Bizarre and Rummage, yeah.
Lovely. Well, I'll be rummaging around for tickets.
The problem is people with actual agoraphobia won't come and watch it because they'll be in the house.
Yeah, they can do it on Zoom, can they?
Oh no, somebody was like really masked up and was refusing to come, but they watched the play and they took it off during the play.
By the way, do you think was lockdown quite good for the agoraphobic? No, was it the agoraphobics? Yeah,
helped me.
They must have loved it.
Yeah.
But the only group that want more.
It created more agoraphobics, that's the thing.
Ah, that's a very good point. Well, look, you see, there's always a cost. Fascinating. Well, look, we've got lots of stories to get through. Let's start by taking a look at tomorrow's front pages. And this is the Daily Mail, Monday morning's Daily Mail. HRT crisis putting women's lives in danger. Campaigners alert on drug shortage. That's right. Thousands of British women cannot get hold of HRT medication, and it's a huge health concern. And also front page of the Mail, Le Champ. Macron crushes Le Pen at the polls to win another 5 years. Daily Telegraph, I owe you, yes, that's what it says, I owe you, Macron promises France. President admits voters backed him only in order to keep Marine Le Pen from power. Putin will manipulate UN chief's visit to Moscow, says Johnson, and PM tells Rayner sexist claims were not his. The Guardian, Macron pledges unity after he fends off Le Pen threat. And Fury at slur, Rayner uses her body to distract the Prime Minister. Financial Times, Macron on track for election win after fighting off Le Pen challenge. And Putin says peace talks at a dead end and train sites on Ukraine land grab. That's right, his territorial ambitions continue apace in Ukraine. The Daily Mirror, Mr. Tyson, retire? Not a chance. And cost of living poll shock. Bills pain hits home. Half of Brits unable to pay up in the summer. 5.3 million forced to choose heat or eat. The Times, Macron vows to reunite France after election win. And grey reports so damning, say the Times, Johnson will have to quit. Daily Express, pensioners face cost of living year from hell. And the Daily Star, women loudest. Snore blimey. That's right, it turns out a recent poll suggests that women snore more loudly than us boys. And those are your front page headlines. So, Monday's Telegraph, and Angela Rayner is not happy, Nick.
Absolutely. Angela Rayner condemns perverted claim that she distracts Boris Johnson at PMQs with basic instinct ploy. And, of course, this was her responding to an article in the Mail on Sunday that said she distracted Boris Johnson with her legs and that she'd admitted as much on the Commons terrace. She put out a long Twitter thread saying that's absolute nonsense, complete lies, ludicrous story. And this is the level of our political discourse. I have to say, it wasn't a great article, a bit shabby. I wouldn't have written it. I never would write such a lowbrow article. It was a bit lame, and I think she was right to be annoyed. Some of her addresses do sort of push the workplace attire a little bit. She wore that dress with quite a high split in the Commons, I remember from my hard drive. But she also, even though I think it's completely reasonable she's annoyed about this, it is sort of ironic that in a couple of days she'll be not knowing what a woman is again. Do you know what I mean? Labour, they're annoyed about their women, like, how dare you treat women like this? Then the next day they don't know what a woman is. They think it's some sort of nebulous mist that descends on you in the late afternoon occasionally. So that is the irony of it.
Yeah, that is the irony. I've got to say, I found it hard listening to what you were saying because of that low-cut T-shirt you're wearing.
Well, I'm sorry about that, Mark.
Yeah.
It is, but my pecs are a bit distracting.
Listen, if you're a hottie, there's nothing you can do about it.
This has been said. People email me all the time. They say, tone it down a bit, Nick. I'm like, I can't. It's who I am.
Oh, please, don't sit so close to me. I can't. I don't know what I'll do. I love the wording in this article. It's been suggested that she used a basic instinct ploy during dispatch box exchange.
Oh, blimey.
Where, Mrs.
This is a minefield, this conversation, isn't it?
Do you know what?
Red box.
And I feel...
Careful where you leave that one.
Well, I feel a bit... obviously, it's like you're watching a movie. Do you know what I mean? This is almost like and she's playing Erin Brockovich, and there's a little bit of class thing going on, and she's somehow using her sexuality to lure. This has not happened. This is like more detraction from what's going on in the government. Why are you staring at me like?
No, I'm sorry. Is that a microaggression?
Is it you trying to mesmerise me?
Do you think it's sexist, and do you think she was right?
She wasn't doing that, though.
No, so you think the article's correct, that it was a sexist suggestion?
It was a sexist suggestion, and it was like, I mean, what? So men have to... This is so... people criticise, like, Islamic extremists because it's all the onus is on the woman to, cover up because it might lure the men into pouncing on them. And I know I've gone into like segregated weddings where like men and women have been separated, and it's like, why are you doing that? It's like, because we don't know who's coming to the weddings. No. I'm like, what kind of pervos are we inviting to the weddings that are going to pounce across tables at the wedding to literally attack a woman?
You've never met Irish people, so let's move on. The French election has reached a conclusion. Sajila, victory for Monsieur Macron.
Yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a weird fight, really, battle. It was almost like choosing which Cray brother you wanted in power. It's like you weren't really going to win either way. Emmanuel Macron has got a second lead in, and I think at the final hurdle, he didn't actually sort of stick with his own manifesto. He kind of like attacked Le Pen's stance on immigration, far-right stance on immigration. So he kind of basically was saying, I am for, like, getting rid of the immigrants, I am, but I wouldn't say get rid of the headscarf. I would. And I think Le Pen, although she is trying to change from her father's kind of legacy, but I think there's still some daddy issues there. If you really didn't have daddy issues and didn't want his approval, you'd go so far away from his politics. But she hasn't. She's still quite close to his politics and his kind of way of being. But here we go. We've got Emmanuel Macron, and that we're kind of stuck with that, really.
Yeah, I mean, is this the death of populist politics, do you think?
I don't know if it's the death of it. It's a shame that Macron's the best they think they can do. I do find it interesting The Guardian calls Le Pen far-right, but everyone also calls Eric Zemmour far-right, he's further right, so he's presumably the far-right. I just think everyone calls everyone far-right now. From what I can understand, Le Pen is not that different to Macron. It's like a slight difference. Maybe her father was different, but to me, I don't think she's even far-right. But I just thought that was noteworthy. But it is The Guardian, so...
And a big part of her policy platform was to support young people by actually stopping anyone under 30 from paying income tax.
Not a bad idea. Well, I'm not sure. Under 30, can we change it?
She was going to get rid of
over 40.
Yeah, 43? Can you take it up to 50? Monday's Mirror next, and Harry and Meghan's neighbours aren't happy, Nick.
Oh, yeah. Prince Harry and... Prince Happy? Why not? Prince Harry and Meghan's neighbours
Not Prince Happy, never.
Prince Unhappy. Prince Harry and Meghan's neighbours say they're not part of the community, despite claim. So Prince Harry told an interview at the Invictus Games that he and Meghan have been welcomed with open arms in Montecito, but locals are saying they totes haven't, basically. And apparently he's not even gone to this pub. There's a pub on the Old Kings Road, called the Old Kings Road. It's a British influence bar in Santa Barbara, and it has a sign on the window saying no word beginning with W, so presumably Harry wouldn't even be allowed in that one. But that joke only makes sense if you can say the word, which we can't. So you have to.
Does it rhyme with bankers?
Piece that together at home, guys, and you'll have a lol. But yeah, so apparently he's going to start playing polo with his family. He hasn't even started doing that yet. And the only part of a little bit of sympathy I had, and I rarely have sympathy with Harry and Meghan, is that they've been trying to get burgers from In-N-Out Burger, which I've had. Very nice burgers that you can get over there.
California-based chain.
Brilliant. So nice. But they can't even get them because of security logistics. So I never really thought about the plight before of trying to get a simple burger and you can't because of security. So a rare moment of sympathy for Harry there. But basically, they're not fitting in the neighbourhood. Apparently, they're thinking about moving already. And that's that story, really.
Why not order Deliveroo? Does that not open to the royals?
It's the same problem, security, logistics, presumably.
I
mean, I'm guessing.
Well, you know, to have a balance, I like Meghan and Harry. Please don't look so shocked, Mark.
You
I like...
What do you like about them?
I like them because I had a dream once that we hung out and they were really nice to me, and she opened up to me.
That's not a good reason.
So they're nice.
Well, I need a reason.
They're nice, literally only in a dream world.
Yeah, they were really nice. I mean, Meghan just really got on. So just don't you say anything about Meghan, right? But the thing is, right. I mean, how are they not assimilating? They're probably just hanging out at home. I mean, I don't really kind of hang out with my neighbours. People could say that I don't, you know, hang out with them. What, are they not doing, like, the local street parties or doing the carpool, you know, car share, you know, maybe going swinging with the neighbours? Is that what constitutes kind of, you know...
It is so hard to imagine, isn't it? Hard to imagine them bringing cakes to the WI or whatever.
Yeah.
Getting involved in local council meetings. I can't really see it.
A cup of sugar from Harry and Meghan. They probably don't eat sugar.
No, they don't.
Right, they give you a lecture about the processed sugars or something.
Yeah. And also, if you were friends with Meghan, you'd have to keep asking her how she is, because no one asked her how she feels.
Good point.
Well, in my dream, she didn't take sugar.
And on that revelation, the Daily Mail next. And a new czar is potentially going to be announced, but not Putin, an HRT one.
HRT.
What is HRT?
HRT is hormone replacement therapy. And so there's a shortage of it. And who's the man to resolve the shortage for women's HRT but Sajid Javid himself? And he's basically ordered someone to sort this problem out. And that someone is in the shape and form of the same woman who was in charge of the COVID vaccine, Kate Bingham. So Kate Bingham is doing this. And so there's been a shortage because of the pandemic. And women are now resorting to
alcohol?
Alcohol, and using their friends as HRT mules to go, like, when they go on holiday to India and other places, to bring, like, loads of suitcases, you know, full back of HRT.
Middle-class drug use.
Huh?
It's middle-class drug use getting
It's
out of hand. Carry on.
Well, I mean, the thing is, there's loads of problems, obviously, when you get... and I think this is really, really where you have a gender pay imbalance, and then women are expected to pay for period products, you know, through their sort of, you know, premenopausal and then postmenopausal. HRT actually is really, really expensive on the prescription. I think it's 200 and, as my poor eyes can see, 200. Can you see, Nick, somewhere? £205 a year. That's a lot of money. So, and now they're buying it on the black market, so that's going to cost them even more. And without this, there are lots of health issues that women are, you know, facing. There was a time when HRT was seen as like something that caused cancer and had like other horrible side effects. There are other things that women could use, but I just don't think there's enough. We don't really talk about menopause. No, women don't talk about menopause. I didn't even know there was a perimenopause until my friend just said, "Oh, it's a perimenopause," and it's like the equivalent of the trainer bra. You know, you have the trainer bra, and then you get become a big girl, and you get big girl's bra, and then perimenopause is like, it's like a trainee menopause, and then you get the big menopause. And I was like, I just got my head around having a menopause, not about there's a trainee, you know, like
there's like a prequel, like the Phantom Menace of menopause. Well, you know what? I totally sympathise. You should be able to get HRT, but men also have the issue that it's very hard to get testosterone, even harder to get that on the NHS. Men have a huge testosterone problem. No men in this room, obviously. But in the nation, there are a lot of men with low testosterone. So it's quite similar. Some of them need similar things to HRT or TRT. And if men had more testosterone, that would end all woke policies, all wokeness immediately. Don't you think, Mark? Because you can get it. It's very hard to get. People have to get it private, and they have to get it injected into their bum, I've heard. But, you know, men after 40... Testosterone declines 1% a year after 30, on average.
Are you really comparing that to HRT?
I'm just raising it. I'm saying this is definitely an issue, and I'm just merely saying it's not... I'm just adding it as another issue. It doesn't have to be a competition.
Tweet away your thoughts.
Why do you know how testosterone has a huge negative impact on men as they age? I'm not saying women shouldn't have HRT. I'm just also raising it. Yeah.
But the other thing
This
is...
is a big unspoken thing.
as
I
they
know,
get
I'd like to
older-
have a bit more.
Yeah.
Mark's been asking me, and if you can borrow some of mine.
Well,
that I
men-
got
You've
from a
given me
mule.
he's given me a couple of vials of
Yeah.
something or other.
Well, men get
Did you
more
recover
less
from that?
aggressive as they get older. I
Don't
agree.
remember a
men
thing.
do get less aggressive. So men are like more, like gentle, a bit whiny,
Yeah, but it has all sorts
whingy,
of health problems as well that people don't realise.
whingy. and women get more aggressive.
I noticed that.
Yeah, just what I mean. That's what I'm
Yeah.
just trying to play that out for us.
Okay, yeah, I felt it.
Well, I think you're both very chemical tonight, and I'm loving every minute of it. How about this? Monday's Independence. And the more I hear about Satan too, Nick, the less I like it.
I know what you mean. It was quite an abrupt left turn into a horrific story here. Russia warns it will deploy Satan II nuclear missiles capable of hitting UK. I haven't even seen Satan 1 yet, so this is not ideal. This is Satan 2, the new batch.
Will it be carrying HRT?
Yes, it's going to save us all, Mark. It's so nice of them. I love how it's called Satan 2. It's hard to think of something worse than Satan. So, like, what can we go with now? Just Satan 2, that'll do it. And, let's find out what it is, Mark. It's an intercontinental ballistic missile. I'm laughing, but it could kill us all. And it's capable of reaching Europe, and it can go... Mr. Putin claims the missile... It hits the target after travelling roughly 3,700 miles and is virtually impossible to defend against with current technology. So we've got that to look forward to. And people are saying this is the highest nuclear threat since the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is very bad because there was a whole film about that for 13 days. So, yeah, pretty horrific story, Mark. Satan too.
We always thought, didn't we, that the nuclear deterrent would mean that there would never be a sort of global nuclear war, because it means mutually assured destruction.
Right.
Do you think there's a chance that Putin, with nothing to lose and in a corner, would press the nuclear button?
All the things that we've discussed before in this programme about his health and, potentially feeling like cornered by the West, yeah, he could. I mean, in terms of naming these missiles, I don't know why you just can't name it does what it says on the tin. It's a nuclear missile. You don't need to name it anything else, do
It's
we?
Satan 2.
I totally agree.
Well, not Omen 1 and 2.
Coward, it's...
No, it could be
Power of
like
Satan
like
2.
their sort of Bugs Bunny cartoon, sort of Acme nuclear missile.
Yeah. I mean, have a bit of fun.
It needs a rebrand, doesn't it?
It does need a rebrand.
Yeah.
but
It needs a Central London ad agency to kind of come up with some fun ideas.
That is interesting, because Russia keep trying to say they're the good guys, they're merely fighting Nazis and all this. Like, what's your weapon called? Oh, it's Satan 2. Do you know what I mean? It's like, change the name, Putin, right?
Maybe Satan 1 then.
It should be called Liberator or something.
Yeah, Liberator. But what when you said about Satan 1, I agree with you. Where
Yeah, I
was
missed that. I know.
That was a
we
disappointment.
missed
We missed the
wasn't
memo,
it?
and hopefully we missed it. Full stop. Right?
Well, here's hoping.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. And what I'm really worried about is who's going to pick up my dry cleaning. Each to their own. That's it for part one. After the break, we'll be discussing Jeremy Corbyn's Labour future and Antarctic first, and why Netflix viewers are switching off in droves. Make sure you don't, because we've got some cracking stories to get through. See you shortly.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debate, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you, or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers. I'm Mark Dolan, and joining me are the brilliant comedians Sajila Kershi and Nick Dixon. Now, how about this? Let's talk about Jeremy Corbyn, a definitive statement on his future, Sajila.
OK, so Jeremy Corbyn will not be a Labour MP again after attack on NATO. This is what Keir Starmer is saying. So Keir Starmer, once and for all, is shutting the door on the former Labour leader. And I think it's also a personal thing because, you know, Corbyn was popular. Say what you will about him. There was a popular with a, you know, I was myself, you know, did like him for quite a while and then thought he'd handle things very difficultly. But yeah, so he's not in. Apparently, his membership was restored back in 2020, but not the party whip, which means he can't really stand again. But he's clashed now on the leadership by suggesting that military alliances such as NATO can build up greater danger in the world and should be. You know, I think he sees them as a bigger danger than you know than Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So that's kind of where we are with that. Do you have anything to add to my learned comment?
Well, I just think it's obviously a very eccentric position to hold at this point, and the danger is, of course, it would leave you at the mercy of Russia and Satan too. So, you know, Trump questioned NATO, but he questioned, like, are people paying enough into it? He was talking about the effectiveness of NATO, whereas Corbyn's basically saying NATO is bad. So it's obviously, at this point, a kind of very hard position to hold. I understand this wider question, you know, historically, do military alliances bring peace? He's making a wider philosophical claim, but it's hardly pragmatic at the moment, and you can see why it's controversial.
Corbyn has been toast politically for months, if not years now. Yeah. I agree with you. I think in some ways he actually cut quite a dynamic figure as the leader of the Labour Party. In some ways, he's more principled and a more compelling personality than Keir Starmer. Mm-hmm. And he certainly absolutely nailed it in the 2017 election campaign. He gave the Tories a real fright and dented, of course, Theresa May's majority. Yes. In fact, she didn't have a majority. So he drew blood from the Conservatives. I think by 2019 he'd lost the plot.
I mean, partly, in honesty, I do think there was a smear campaign. I do think he's not guilty of all the crimes that he's been committed of, but certainly mud sticks in politics, and it did for him. And it's a shame because he represented what I would have considered the old Labour, which I know not anyone on the right will not agree with that, but it was principled, and we needed someone with principles, and we haven't had that for a long time.
And now it's all gone very wishy-washy.
It's all, of course it has. But Starmer, I obviously I'm a lefty, I'm a Labour girl, right? But I don't. There's been moments of brilliance from Starmer, but we need more of that. But then again, you could say the same with Boris. There have been moments, but on the whole, there's been a lot of sleaze and scandal as well, which, it's hard. There's nothing, like I said about the craze, we've got our own craze. It's just the politics.
You know what, you say that anyone on the right, etc., but the Red Wall MPs are closer to old Labour than Labour, quite arguably, with what they want. They want things to be, they want trains to be nationalised, they want things like that, they want public spending, and they want social conservatism. It's a lot.
Trains.
The Red Wall are a lot closer to old Labour than Labour. And on your point
patriotic,
about social
family values,
but they want public spending. On your point about Corbyn being principled, what's interesting is he voted against the Plan B restrictions. He was it was about 10 Labour people, and he was an independent. So, and that was one thing he did that I liked. I mean, that's probably the only.
And he also was against vaccine mandates as well.
Oh, yeah.
And vaccine passports. And I couldn't agree with him more on that. I think, Sajila, that Corbyn is old news. That, for me, that's not the story.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, do you think voters will punish Keir Starmer at the next election for having supported Corbyn in the first place?
I don't think that's going to be the issue, actually.
Because he was a cheerleader for Corbyn as Prime Minister, wasn't he, when he was on the shadow cabinet?
I honestly don't think that's going to be the thing for Keir Starmer. I think it's going to be more sort of recent events, like not being able to say what a woman is or, not stepping up in other ways. I think the Corbyn story is kind of ended now, sadly, but it has. And we've got to sort of look forward.
What do you think, Nico?
Potentially you could have the opposite. I see a lot of hardcore Labour people on Twitter and stuff and it is only Twitter, but they're against Starmer because he threw Corbyn under the bus. So the opposite of what you're saying. They could lose some votes because, Starmer's too centrist for them.
Yeah, and Starmer can say, look, I'm the new Tony Blair, I'm this great reforming leader that's essentially excommunicating the hard left of this party, which is exactly what Blair did, which swept into power, I suspect. Fascinating conversation. We'll move over bats. Pigs could be the next vectors of the pandemic. Nick?
Yeah, pigs can pass deadly superbugs to people, study reveals. Some more good news for us here. So this is research into C. difficile, which is a very nasty sort of stomach complaint you can get. And they've found that C. difficile it basically is resistant to all but 3 antibiotics in use today. So the issue is they've been studying C. difficile and they found that there's a danger of just us becoming more and more resistant to antibiotics. Everyone knows that doctors prescribe too many antibiotics. We've been giving too many to animals, and this is just more along those lines, basically. Yes.
Put me right off my burger. This one from Monday's Times might go some way to explaining Netflix's recent woes, Sajila.
Ooh, Netflix. I had an intravenous drip attached to Netflix throughout the whole pandemic, and I'm like, not everybody else, I should imagine. So, settling in for a binge, Netflix subscribers? Bad luck, your show's been cancelled. So, a new study finds that the streaming giant is dropping more of its own shows and content and getting more samey. And the reason for that is, I won't bore you with the whole article, but basically, that when they make their own series, own Netflix stuff, they'll get to season 2, and because by Hollywood standards, by the time you make season 3, you need to renegotiate contracts and pay people differently.
Everyone gets more expensive if it's
everyone
hits,
gets
such as headliners.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that.
Nick Dixon is that close to pricing himself out of the market. Let me tell you, he asked for sandwiches today, and the problem is because he's that good, he got them.
He did, and you got a cup of tea made for you, which I didn't. Yeah. But so basically, so that's kind of what's happening. So instead of making a new season, they'll cut it and then they'll just remake another, which has got similar sort of things. So that's why it's the samey stuff, which is a shame because Netflix has been going really strong, doing really well. So much so that I refused to pay my BBC licence fee until they sent me last week a
threatening letter.
£1,000 they were going to, do me for £1,000. And then I got really scared, like the poll tax, and then just paid it because I was making a stance for the poll tax.
Do you think that the BBC should be funded differently?
Well, for me personally, I didn't really watch the BBC. I'm not really watching the BBC now. I don't know about you guys, but it's not so much featured in my life anymore. So I don't know. It does need to be funded different. I think we've had this conversation before again on the show, and I do think there should be a different way. Netflix works. You buy. I mean, I don't know anybody who actually has paid for Netflix apart from the people. Because I use my son's. And do you use your own, or do you have, and your family will use yours?
I've got my own, but I've got the population of a small town in Wales who are currently borrowing my password.
Everybody and there's something wonderful about that, because you've got your little avatars on the thing and using your own stuff.
Apparently they're going to clamp down on that.
Oh, are they? Okay. Well, fair enough. I don't even mind that, but I do think that there is a different way to be doing things. The BBC is a little bit dated and still, and then sending threatening letters take me to court for £1,000 just because I was a bit late.
Totally anachronistic, and I think even people who work there I've spoken to know that that's got to go. But my take on this Netflix thing, the one part Sajila didn't mention is that, yes, there are logistical reasons why it's samey, but let's face it, it's also the political persuasion of Netflix. We all know what that is. We know it's gone woke. Elon Musk said it the other day that it's gone woke, and then the share price dropped 35%, which is probably related to that, people think. I just think it's interesting. Netflix has got very woke. The Obamas have been dropped by Spotify with their podcast contract. Disney have switched from inspiring stories to grooming, and we've got the end of some say the word grooming.
The woke channel CNN Plus has been cancelled at a cost of $300 million.
CNN is falling apart. So it's like the regime media is on its last legs. It's the old media. People don't actually like a lot of it. It can't stand up. Obama can't compete with Joe Rogan, and everything's, it's all falling behind. And although I do like the Kanye documentary on Netflix, and Selling Sunset is good.
How do you think we will be watching telly in, let's say, 5 years' time? I'm very proud to say that at GB News, I think we've got every base covered because you can watch our output for free on your smartphone via the app. You've also got YouTube, regular telly. You can look at our website, you know, every which way, and of course DAB Plus on the radio. But how do you think Sajila will be consuming content in 5 years' time?
I think whilst we're wearing our glasses like you are now, there'll be a little screen there and you can watch a programme as you're walking. Yeah, I think that's technology's really going. But also maybe we've overconsumed as well. I think maybe it's got to a point where we have fatigue.
There's too much stuff.
Yeah,
no?
there's too much stuff, and we've got fatigue. I spend more time flicking through Netflix to see what I should watch. I tire myself out and then go to bed because I don't know what to pick. You know, there's so many choices.
I actually tire myself out in front of a screen all the time as well.
Oh, do you, Mark?
It can be very draining, let me tell you. Angela Rayner, eat your heart out. How about this from The Guardian? And where on earth is Guantanamo Ooze? Nick?
Yes, well, Guantanamo on Ooze plans to place 1,500 asylum seekers in Yorkshire Village. So the name comes from the fact that they're basically dumping a load of migrants or asylum seekers in this little village. And everyone basically is saying it's not going to work. The locals are saying that it's far too many people. They're totally against it. A Lib Dem MP has said it's ill thought out, cruel and morally bankrupt. Even the Conservative MP for Thirsk and Malton, Kevin Holland-Rake, says he was initially in favour, but now he's firmly against it. And so it seems like a pretty awful idea all round. But I suppose it's obviously a very difficult problem, immigration. You've got to do something about it. But perhaps just dropping them into this village is not going to work.
Well, coming from a sort of a village, I think it's typical village mentality. You know, we don't want outsiders. I don't know why I always do that boys for the village word.
Is that how they talk in Red Hill and Surrey?
That's right. In Red Hill and Surrey, in Reigate, this is how we speak. We don't want outsiders. And I know even, you know, where I live, it's been a similar thing when the travellers have come. Like, we don't want the travellers here. We don't want the immigrants here. And they're saying that they're only going to put, like, single men from Syria, Iraq, Iran, Eritrea, who to be sent to Linton in this place. Now, refugee charities have called the planned centre a cross between a hostel and low-security prison, and they've said it's ill thought out, cruel and morally bankrupt to employ to reduce the obligations to the most desperate people. So those stories, I still think, are not told enough. All we get is the scaremongering, you know, evil vile immigrants, you know, coming, you know, taking everything. And I just think the real stories are getting lost somehow, some of which I would, you know, I haven't got time to share, but there are real, like, stories out there that, you know, need to be told.
And people who are deserving of not just shelter, but actual asylum.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the issue is, like you say, it's a small village. I'm from a small village. It says here there are 4 buses a day to York. There's 1 shop, and that's more than we had where I grew up. We had nothing, no shops, just sheep. So yeah, so I do relate to the, you know, their problem, their issue with it as well.
Yeah, it's always been my view that if you don't live near a big next, then it ain't happening.
No.
And ideally a Costa.
Why live?
Yeah, and a Boots on 2 floors. Is that too much to ask?
I just want a Lidl's.
Really?
Yeah, I love Lidl's.
Do you know what? I do think things are changing because estate agents always used to say, oh, and there's a Starbucks down the road. But I think with the cost of living crisis, they'll be like, Aldi's just over there. Knock yourself out.
Yeah. Pound shop. There's a pound shop down the road. Yeah.
Other supermarkets are available. Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, you name it. I could go on, and I'm tempted to, but I won't. Let's talk about the Antarctic, Sajila.
Oh, so this is about gay love in a hopeless, cold place. British
Middlesbrough?
There is that one as well.
Joking.
I think we're going to take that story another time.
I love the North East.
This is the British Antarctic territory to hold its first same-sex wedding. So the happy grooms and groom is Eric Bourne and Stephen Carpenter, who work on the RRS Sir David Attenborough, and they're hoping to tie the knot on Monday. However, they might have to be pushed back because of the bad weather. Someone's probably getting cold feet, or maybe it's just the fact that it's cold all year round there.
Who knew?
I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, the wedding's going to be performed by the boat's captain. And I've always I like the idea of getting married by a boat captain. They used to do it in the Love Boat. It's probably maybe too young to remember the Love Boat. Do you remember the Love Boat?
I do remember that vividly. Yeah. It feels right to be married by someone in a sailor's uniform.
Yeah, it does, isn't it?
Yeah. With the rather fancy decoration on the blazer.
Yes.
A white blazer, I would have thought.
Yes.
Medals. I'd like to be married by someone with medals.
I think it's important to have medals.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. Do you know, when I got married, I was married by a Roman Catholic priest in Austria, a lovely guy called Father Schwarzenauer. Probably best not to name him. But he was a great guy. And I had to do an interview with him before we got married. And one of the questions was, are you fertile?
Wow.
And I said, is this you like just curious, or have you got to ask me that? And he said, yeah, it is your obligation to deliver babies to this woman should she so wish. And in Austria, certainly in the church in Austria, you know, maybe there were some scoundrels who were unable to conceive, who would marry people and then not give them babies.
Well,
and
you
yet I'm
showed
hearing
him with your actions, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you,
fertile.
you would struggle to get married in Austria with your low testosterone.
Are you sure he didn't want your sperm?
Well, that's the only thing.
That's like he wanted like to sire your children away
because
from your
actually,
knowledge.
he said, are you fertile? I said, I'm very fertile. And he looked at me coquettishly and he said, how fertile? And I said, let's have a drink and let's talk about it.
Buy me dinner
Was he looking
first.
for you to like help the whole village or something?
What a night. Well, there you go. Look, that's the end of part 2. We've got so much more. In fact, we have saved our best till last. Part 3 has some incredible stories for us to apply our comedic lenses to. Tyson Fury, out of control auto-correction on your computer and phone, and a drug-riddled wedding cake. They are real corker stories. See you in 2.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's 2 questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you, or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And the money was hidden in my sock all along.
No. Oh, my God, we're back on air.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Mark Dolan, and the very secretive Sajila Kershi, and the man who's an open book, Nick Dixon. We're taking a look at tomorrow's papers. And the Metro now, and Tyson Fury, from one perfectly idealised specimen of masculinity to another.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Martin, for writing that link. Yes, this is in the Metro retirement U-turn. Tyson Fury's wife, Paris, gives him permission to take unification fight. Of course, no one can give the Gypsy King permission. He does what he wants. But this is about whether he would come back out of retirement.
Well, can you tell us what's the story? He's a boxer, is he?
He's a boxer. He's the greatest heavyweight in the world, Tyson Fury.
Is he British?
And last night, yes. And last night, from Manchester.
Is he related to Mike Tyson?
No, lives in Morecambe. Although that is where he got his name. His father named him after Mike Tyson.
Is that right?
So
and there was a fight yesterday,
There was a fight yesterday.
In the street,
fight,
outside a pub?
In Wembley, 94,000 fans. And Tyson Fury won round 6. I actually thought about betting. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to bet as a Christian, but I was going to put a bet on round 3, 7 or 10. So I'm quite glad I didn't, because that would have been really annoying, because he got him in 6. Of course, Fury is the greatest fighter in the world. He lives in Morecambe, just down the road from where I'm from. Total legend. And it was it was a great fight. Dillian Whyte didn't do that well, but he's a good lad as well. And the great thing, of course, is that Tyson Fury always shouts out Jesus Christ at the end. So Jesus Christ and Tyson Fury both remain undefeated. And it always makes people awkward when he does it, but it's good that he does. But the story is about whether he would come back out of retirement. So he said he was going to retire, but no one really believes him. It didn't sound like he really was going to. He did talk about a fight with Francis Ngannou, even talked about it in the ring after the fight. This would be a crossover fight into the UFC, where it would be a crossover. Fury, they'd wear smaller gloves, they'd do it in a cage, so it'd be boxing mixed with UFC. So he might do that, but the question is, will he still fight Joshua or Usyk and try and get all the belts? He says he's not bothered. He's had all the belts at one time or another. He's not bothered about belts. He's just looking for the next interesting fight. And now, so he's claiming he's retired. No one quite believes him. That's the story.
So the idea was that last night's fight was the last fight of his career. That's how it was pitched.
That's what he started saying. And you wonder, is he just trying to tease out Joshua or Usyk to say, look, you've missed your chance, possibly?
But is that like Elton John's farewell tour, which we know will never end?
Yeah.
It could be a bit like that. You know, you never know with Tyson Fury, when he's serious and when he isn't. He's a great guy, but sometimes he says things in the build-up to fights that you know, a bit...
Boxers are notorious for struggling to retire, aren't they? When they retire, they come out of retirement.
Yeah, there's been a few, like Andre Ward, who really retired undefeated, said, that's it, I'm getting out. Occasionally that does happen, but many stay on far too long. Or they return, like Tyson's had a go lately, or whoever.
If a fight ends after 6 rounds, is that disappointing for the people watching, the spectators?
Do you know what? For me, because I'm so invested in Tyson Fury that it's ridiculous. I felt sick the entire fight, can barely sit down. So for me, I was glad that it was over in 6 rather than these really long fights with Wilder that have been hard to watch. For many people, yeah, I think 6 is all right. I think if it's 1 or 2 or 3, maybe. I think 6 was all right.
Yeah, and you weren't feeling well, you were struggling. Did an old man come along with a bucket and a sponge? And
yeah.
Make
I had
your
a
head wet?
Man in there. Yeah. Because Tyson Fury is just so great. Once you just can't help but love him, and then you get really into it, and then you know.
Well, London yesterday was full of people who must have been at the fight because they had all had crowns and the trains were really delayed. So thank you, TfL, for not warning us there was a strike. And literally I was thinking, well, what are all the crowns? And it was like, oh, it's the fight. And they were so passionate that, I mean, God, they're the kind of fans you want. Really,
well, because Fury's been through so much. He went through mental health struggle. He was suicidal. Was out for 3 years, and then he came back. And it's just an epic story.
I love that his wife has said, asked if if they've got her blessing if he does fight again. And this is what we're talking about marriage and what a perfect partner would say. And she says, yes, Tyson always has my blessing, whatever he chooses to do. Isn't that lovely?
That's nice. She's so great, Paris. And also, speaking of fertility in the last story, he has 6 kids already, and he said he's going for 10.
Blimey. And I thought boxers abstained. Who knew? Well, boxers and TV presenters. Daily Mail now, and the global chip shortage has left tech firms taking a novel approach to fulfilling supply demands. Sadrula.
Oh, yes. So the pandemic... OK, let me just...
What's the pandemic? Tell me more.
The pandemic, yet again. We're never going to get away from that. This used to be postmodern. This postmodern art. Now it's going to be post-pandemic art and post-pandemic everything.
It's true. And those 3 terrible words, by the way, because of COVID.
Because of COVID.
So this is rubbish because of COVID. This is still closed because of COVID.
It's all because of COVID. So tech firms rip apart new washing machines, or having just bought a new washing machine, I'm quite disturbed to read this, ripping apart new washing machines so that they can harvest their computer parts in a bid to beat the global microchip shortage. So because of COVID, because of the pandemic, right, we have, and people working from home a lot more, we've run out of microchips, and it's actually, what is it called, a semiconductor?
Yeah.
Anything with a semi in front of it, always a bit dodgy, isn't it? But semiconductor, which actually are...
Speak for yourself. Don't knock it till you've tried it.
Yes, it's how you use it. Yes, you basically can find them in PCs, mobile phones, but also they're vital to cars, kitchen appliances, TV, smart speakers, and this goes on. So to make Tesla cars and stuff, you need these things. And normally they would have cost them £1, but now they are resorting to buying washing machines, these companies. And I don't know if I want to buy a car that's had a ripped-up washing machine.
It's like harvesting. It's like
harvesting.
They're stealing organs.
Yeah, there's like stealing organs, harvesting, cannibalising them.
No one's touching my Bosch.
No. And not my lovely washing machine.
Keep your hands off my Zanussi.
And they're cannibalising them for semiconductors rather than wait 6 months with such expensive goods stuck in the factory.
There's no way my Siemens is getting anywhere near your hands.
See, that's why you're the presenter, Mark. That's why you're
Very
paid the big...
good, Mark.
What brand of washing machine have you bought?
Oh, God, you know what?
Is it German?
No, it's... Oh,
South Korean?
no, but it makes all these like ding 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 tunes and noises and it's
LG?
so clever. It's so maybe it's LG.
LG does a tune.
And it understands what load is in there.
It's amazing.
How dirty your washing is. That's really clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
We've got a washer dryer which my wife now considers to be better than me. She just said that machine is better than you, and it's true because it washes and dries the clothes.
And
it's reliable. It's efficient. It's eco-friendly. Everything I'm not.
And also, I bet it vibrates a lot if she sat on it.
Well, we both do that. Certainly early in the marriage. Nick Dixon.
Yes, I have a comment on this. It's far more serious. I feel bad now, but it's just...
What brand of washing machine have you got?
I've got a mere Indesit. Is that what they're called?
Indesit.
Comes with the place, and it's very humble.
Yeah.
But yeah, very bad. I don't have a dryer.
It's a budget choice.
Yeah, maybe for a dryer. Maybe when I move up to presenter level, Mark, I'll get the dryer.
Well, maybe we could use some of your hot air.
Nice. I was just...
He's on form today.
Can I merely say that the interesting thing about this is it's one of these shortages you don't really think about till it happens. A lot of the semiconductors are made in Taiwan, so if China discourages trade with Taiwan, which they've been trying to do, or if they suddenly invade or whatever, it could be a huge problem.
I mean, we are running out of everything. I don't want to catastrophise. We're running out of vegetable oil. We've run out of grains and wheat, and now semiconductors. It's a concern, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It's worrying. And actually, when you go shopping, the supermarket food, the fresh fruit and vegetables are all
and it's all
empty.
It's all because of Brexit.
Right. No, yeah, exactly. No vegetables. Every cloud has a silver lining. Telegraph now, and as if autocorrect can't get more irritating, Nick. First of all, what is autocorrect?
Yes, that's where you're trying to type something and it ruins it for you and it says something rude instead, or something irrelevant. But yes, ducking. Whoever wants to say that. Anyway, the headline is Big Brother, sorry, big person is correcting you on Google. I think we covered this on Free Speech Nation a while ago. It seems to be back again. So this is Google coming up with this very unhelpful inclusive language function that prompts you to use other words. So if you say landlord, they're saying, could you change it to property owner? Or mankind becomes humankind. My favourite one, housewife becomes stay-at-home spouse, which sounds more like an order, stay-at-home spouse. But yeah, it's bizarre. And Silky Carlo, the director of Big Brother Watch, who I've met, we did a gig for the other day, it was a great gig, so full disclosure, has said that Google's new word warnings aren't assistive, they're deeply intrusive. The company's reading every word you type, and now it's telling you what to type. And lots of people have pointed out how absurd and patronising this is, and it's a rubbish form of progress that isn't really progress at all. Oh, and they tried to put, as a little experiment, they put through neo-Nazi leader David Duke, and he had no problems, but they put through John F. Kennedy's speech, and it tried to change mankind to humankind. And they put Jesus' Sermon on the Mount through. How dare you change what Jesus said? They suggested instead of wonderful, God's wonderful works, you should say great, marvellous or lovely, which is not in any way better. So
I don't wish to have my words edited by software.
No, you get annoyed when the producers do it. I've seen you.
No, I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
Look at me, can't you tell?
No, actually, you don't look like a control freak.
I try. It's all a visage. But I mean, this is very concerning. This is an issue of free speech, don't you think? In a way, the encroachment of our language, Sajila.
I know. It makes me really angry because freedom of expression, how I might write something might be very different to how you write it or how you write it. And so I don't want to be writing like everybody else. And I'm sorry, Google, you ain't the boss of me.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, I know people, my dad's generation, not nasty, but they might refer to a woman as a bird or something, but they're not. This is not hate speech. They're just a certain generation. It's not a word I would use. But I understand it's in context. It's like that's the language they grew up with. And I think it's the same with anything you read, whether it's a book or a newspaper article. It should be in the language and the mother tongue of the author.
But also in the style of the author, because if you use certain words, then that's the way that you speak. Don't homogenise us all,
Yes.
And just a spokesman for Google at the end says, our technology is always improving and we don't yet and may never have a complete solution to identifying and mitigating all unwanted word associations and biases. Well, why is that something you even need to do?
And I don't like the word solution. It's got bad historic precedent.
And why is it up to these idiots? Just some Google employee.
And what's going to happen to the
23 years old.
What's going to happen to the thesaurus now?
Yeah.
Because we used to rely on the thesaurus if we wanted to find another word. We don't need Google. Do we?
You don't need that. Cupertino will decide for you. The Guardian now, and a wedding gone wrong, Sajila.
Oh, I love this story. Thank you, Martin, for giving me this. So Florida bride and caterer have been charged after serving marijuana-laced food at a wedding. So the police arrived at the venue to find the wedding guests being treated for symptoms consistent with that of someone who's been using illegal drugs. So they've been charged. So basically, a whole load of people at this wedding didn't know that this was done without their consent. So they've laced, you hear about cookies. Is it cookies? What do they lace? Like brownies. These young kids, they put cooked stuff. Anyway,
sure.
And this one guest said...
It's a Mary Berry marijuana cake you can have.
Mary Berry
you get a really soggy bottom.
Yeah, why hasn't she made one? And one guest who ate a Caesar salad, tortellini and bread with an olive oil herb dip said he felt tingly. His head started to race and he was having crazy thoughts. And he thought, he didn't realise it was marijuana. Another guest said they ate the salad, dip and 3 meatballs. How much food was this at this wedding?
Yes.
It's not consistent menu either.
It's a mess.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a lovely story. But yeah, they basically offered marijuana without telling them, just laced it.
You're saying it's lovely. It's kind of drugging people without consent, isn't it?
Oh, well, you don't think the fun
isn't that what weddings have been like for hundreds of years?
Yeah, they do.
Free wine.
The funny part is it's in Florida, so you've got that Florida man memes. It would be Florida, you know what I mean? It's always Florida, these stories.
Well, let's stay on cannabis, shall we? And Monday's Mail, Nikolai.
Yes, plans for the UK's first large-scale trial of medical cannabis are dramatically scaled back. So this firm, LVL Health, we're going to do a study on 100 patients, and they were going to try and get it to 5,000 after that. However, it's been said that actually it's not going to work. They're questioning the methodology of it, and there's all sorts of criticisms of it. One interesting, but then they defend themselves. Say the director said it's impossible to offer a placebo because the psychoactive effects of vaping cannabis would make it obvious which group a patient was in, which is clear, isn't it? There'd be the group eating a big bag of Doritos and YouTubing flat Earth videos.
Exactly right.
So that is one issue. Yeah, and there's more details to it, but they're not particularly interesting.
How about Shakespeare, Monday's Guardian? Tell us about this one, Nick.
Yes, this is interesting. New evidence suggests Shakespeare may have stolen the plot of Cymbeline. So essentially, there are notes from a 1533 book where Sir Thomas North made some notes about Rome and Rome's wars with Britain and Shakespeare, they claim now, may have seen those and based his play on the notes due to the chronology of it. So Michael Blanding believes that that is the case. He's saying it's a revolutionary discovery that's hard to interpret any other way than that North used the book to write notes for his own play, which Shakespeare later adapted. So North wrote notes for a play that he didn't make, but then Shakespeare made the play. But the only thing is, all he's actually done is outline notes for the outline of the structure. So Shakespeare still had to come up with all the language. And other people have contested it and pointed out that, and said that it's actually weak evidence and that they don't believe this actually happened. Michael Dobson, director of the Shakespeare Institute, says that it doesn't come anywhere near substantiating the claim that North was using the Chronicle as, it was in this book, Fabian's Chronicle, as basis for a play about Cymbeline. So he's saying that it isn't the case. So yeah, it's another Shakespeare plagiarism story. Either Shakespeare is the most hard done by person in history, or he's the biggest thief in history, and no one seems to know.
Outrageous.
No, there's no such thing as an original. There's no such thing as an original idea. So we're all taking inspiration from somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I think, and you can obviously do worse than Shakespeare. Although the Shakespeare of comedy, Chris Rock, is in the news. Just a few seconds on this. What's happening?
Yeah. So Chris Rock's mum has come out and spoken out about the slap that her son took from Will Smith at the award ceremonies. And Rose Rock, I hear you, sister, because I'm as a mother, right, I'm very protective. She's an author and motivational speaker herself. And she's basically said, to Will Smith, she said, you reacted to your wife giving you the side eye, which I love that, she did give him the side eye, a side eye, and you went and made her day because she was mulled over laughing when it happened. So, because she rolled over laughing when it happened, right? So she's really angry, as a mum. And I tell you what, that was my kid, had been slapped by someone, I'd have gone round that house and I would have grabbed him by the scruff of the neck.
You don't mess with the Kershey. Thanks to the brilliant Nick Dixon and Sajila Kershey. Thanks to you for your company this whole weekend. I've loved every minute of it. Headliners is back tomorrow at 11 and I'm back on Friday at 9. See you then. Love you loads.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and every weekday we bring you The Briefing live from 9:30 a.m. The stories, analysis and live debate that you need to hear.
Quite right, Tom, of course.
Was this something that had been considered at all?
Difficult to answer.
Gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Noise is being made here.
Joe Biden walking out.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a brazier angle, and